is.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to I don't know what the hell. I've been gone for 2 weeks. I don't even know what we're calling this. What if series reviews, season review, whatever it may be. I am the leader of GeekVerse.ca now. I'm back on What If after 2 weeks. Thanks for holding it down. I've survived the night, even though I don't know what's going on with my camera. I feel like it's at a strange angle, but it's a strange episode. So maybe that's it. I'm joined by
I am your guide to these vast episodes of the GeekVerse podcast, Taylor Field.
So as always, we're gonna do non-spoilers quickly, and then we will do spoilers. So Taylor, where can you guide us to the listeners where they could find us?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. Be sure to check us out on our Facebook because I have dropped finally a nice little sneak peek at the Halloween poll that's going to be popping off soon this month, or not this month, but the month of October. So be sure to stay tuned because that's going to be a spicy, spooky poll.
Spicy spooky poll, he says. Wow, okay. So yeah, what else is popping off this week? Lots of stuff. Me and Taylor will be doing a newscast. If you're into Deathloop, Kirklin Dylan just dropped a 3-hour plus review, so that's going on. And then we got Venom. I'm just super excited because the spoiler we re-released Venom 1 spoilers review, and I said in the intro, I'm like, man, after all this, we're not getting an E-Minum song for Carnage. And I even said that on the Bond review, and then or the Bond retro. Me and Kirkland just did check that out, check the Dexter one out. I just said, man, it's just such a shame we're not getting one. But then today, E-Minum drops it. There's a bunch of people in that Sky Gray's in as well, but there's going to be a new song for Carnage. So, oh man, I can't wait. I'm more anticipated to hear that than the movie. So we got that going off. Just a whole month of big reviews, DC fandoms coming up. So just like Taylor said, follow us all those places. Go to Patreon, get stuff early, ad-free, and exclusive. I don't know when, but I think in the next week or two, we'll be doing kind of a town hall. We put out our survey to kind of explain what our goals are coming up in the future and some changes here at GeekVerse. All good stuff, so don't worry about that. No one's dying. No one's going away. No one's fighting the well, no one's doing something in the multiverse. So this is the penultimate episode. Phil, what do you think about this episode?
Oh man, I mean, this episode was full of surprises. This was, without a doubt, it is top 3 episodes for sure. And
without a doubt, that's quick. Like, you're just off the draw saying that.
Yeah, and it gets me excited because I'm very excited to see, okay, is this top 3 contender going to get booted for next week's episode? But this episode has created such a level of excitement and I guess just the what they've kind of been working and building towards. So everything that they've kind of introduced has kind of led to this very interesting moment with these characters. And I mean, I'm just off of a high because like the episode was just going like classic What If, everything like that, and then it just makes a sudden right turn and it caught me off guard. And I feel like it was something that people were kind of thinking was eventually going to come around, but I didn't think we would get something of this level until like a season 2 of What If or something along those lines. But they just dove head into it, and I feel like I can kind of piece together what we're gonna get as a season finale, but it makes me wonder where they're gonna go with this for a season 2. If we're, I wouldn't say like we're not gonna get seasons 2. I feel like we're definitely gonna get season 2, but I feel like with how they're treating this, that it almost feels like it's gonna be a one-off. But I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. They've
Okay,
already
good.
announced season 2.
Good.
That's happening. Yeah, they it's kind of now it's a good flashback to your episode last week of I don't know if we'll see Ultron ever again, and now it's he's like a big deal.
Yeah, that went out the window.
Yeah, no, we're definitely in factual. Nice to see you in the chat there. Yeah, no, we're definitely getting season 2 because even one episode from this season because COVID got delayed into next year. So I don't know. I guess I'll wait until spoilers to get into it fully. Yeah, if it's a top 3 one. That one's tough because I know when the show's over, because we all haven't been on each episode, we're gonna do a rankings episode every episode. So is it a for sure top 3? Because I know I got Doctor Strange. It might be up there. It's definitely not number 1. I still got Doctor Strange up there as number 1. I'm trying to think. I don't think like Party Thor isn't up there in the top echelon. Captain Carr's not. Marvel Zombie. I think it might be. It might be. Yeah, you might be right. So I'll give it that. We'll wait until a couple weeks from now when we do the episode. But it was a really good episode. I think because yeah, like you said, people have been speculating on a lot of things that could happen, but I think people didn't think they'd go to this degree, and it was pretty interesting the route they took. I think my only con against it is not that it's a huge thing, but this is like very, especially the back half is just very action heavy, which is great because I do think this is one of the better looking episodes. Again, with the animation, there's some really great shots. Like people know, okay, the episode's called "What If Ultron Won," so you're gonna see lots of Ultron, but there's lots of Ultron like robots and all together and stuff like that. So that all looked great. I like the setup for how we got there. It's one of those. I feel like this is the one of the more, I don't want to say safer episodes, but it's one of those that I think we all predicted. Like when we saw, oh, what happens if T'Challa became Star-Lord? I don't think we were predicting that when the show was announced, but when it was announced, I think we could have predicted, oh, we might get a What If Ultron 1 sort of episode, right? And there's some things I like about it. There's some things I don't. I think there's wasted opportunity for one situation, but it's fine. It's kind of what if, like people brought that up with Marvel Zombies of like, oh, Tony Stark died so easily. It's kind of one of those. It's like, if you had a longer episode or if this was a movie, I'm sure they would have made it more epic, but they're just trying to move along the story. So I did really like it. I think it has more of a continuing story thread than most episodes. So I'll have to see next week because yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I don't want to keep tiptoeing around it and maybe say something I shouldn't. So anything else, Taylor Field?
Negative.
All right. So we're going to get into spoilers and then we will be right back. And we're back. So where do you want to start off with this one today?
I mean, let's we could just go right into the hot and heavy thing.
I was expecting you to keep talking, but no, he's just picking where we're going, and that's it. Yeah. So the whole episode is obviously the big setup. Like we talk about, okay, what if Ultron won? We see kind of what we thought he would get Vision's body. All this stuff happens. Avengers start to perish. Yada yada yada. And he gets all the stones. Now, before we continue with the stones, I do think that I did not like Thanos' dispatching of in this episode.
I'm pissed that didn't happen in the movie.
Well, my whole thing is like, well, because technically, if you think about it, I guess the reason why it didn't happen, if you want a headcanon, is Vision was too weak whenever he met Thanos, because him and Thanos weren't together too long, right? And when the only time Vision and Thanos fought or were around each other, and when was Vision was like dying after he got stabbed, right? So it's like he wasn't at full power. So that's what you could headcanon. I just don't know, like, with all those stones, with even, like, I don't even know, like, I don't think we talk about those Marvel zombies, but the Hulk, like, the zombies couldn't pierce his skin. Do you think they could pierce the Mad Titan's skin like zombies?
Like zombies could, or Vision's?
No, I'm talking just zombies right now. Like I just feel like they wouldn't. So I feel like Thanos has a very, I know it's Vision and Ultron's laser and stuff like that, but I don't know if it would just chopped him right in half.
I think zombies could, because if you look at, I'm gonna defer to Iron Man. When Iron Man fights the Hulk, Iron Man has never actually made the Hulk bleed. He made him lose a tooth, but that's the extent. Whereas Iron Man was able to make Thanos bleed. So I feel like a zombie could.
That's fair enough then. So either way, so they do this thing where it's pretty much not the same movie, but we see the heroes die. Ultron is slowly taking over and stuff like that. And it was hype when that portal opened behind him, because now, because of like iconography, you just know, okay, that we know who's coming through this portal. It's Thanos. And Ultron, yeah, he just cuts him right in half. And then he's like, oh, Aziz takes the stone. I think, and this is where I mentioned, it's kind of like the Tony Stark thing where I get it, because it's a one episode, it's what if, even though it's a two-part, it's one episode, they're just trying to move the story along and be about Ultron. I do think they missed a really good opportunity, because I feel like we all the time talk about Marvel villains and stuff like that, and they're pretty secluded. Like, I don't think there's many villains, like what villains have really interacted, especially the main ones, like with Thanos, like I guess what he interacted like a little with Ronan and stuff. So like when you get one of the top tier ones like a Loki, and Ultron, a Thanos, a Killmonger, something like that, it's like I think it would have been very fun to have a really cool battle between Ultron and Thanos. So I feel they missed an opportunity there. As I'm fine with Thanos losing, but I think because it's this crossing of two worlds that we've never seen together, as far as like, yeah, it's in the MCU, but Ultron and Thanos in this story, the MCU sacred timeline, whatever it's gonna be called now, never even close to each other. So do you think they like didn't you want to see like, you know, a nice like sequence of, I don't know, I feel like Hawkeye got a better fight on some of these Ultron robots. I just think they missed an opportunity of a good Thanos v Ultron fight.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. It would have been cool to see these two enemies square off.
Fractured Wolf said the same thing, and I feel like you're gonna like, I don't know, and I guess there is that fun thing where people, it's gonna be that hype moment of, oh, here we go, and maybe you'll laugh, but it's just, when will you ever, you'll never get Ultron and Thanos in the movies, right? And now this was the time, and maybe in a what if episode in season 2, season 3, maybe it'll happen, but I feel like this was the prime real estate for it to happen, and they kind of squandered it a little, you know?
It was, and I'll definitely say they squandered it. The only thing I can tell myself is just it wasn't meant to be part of the story. Like they didn't care to focus on it. And you could, again, like Fractured Wolf says, lazy writing. I think that they could have probably put one more episode into this series, and then they could have had this end off on them fighting in a big battle, and then Thanos falls at the end of it, and then the remainder of this episode could have been like the next episode 9, and then we could have got one more episode, which would have been the original finale. But I just feel like Thanos this whole time was not meant to be the primary, like, wow, he was just to be a stepping stone to get us to the main battle. So
yeah, just the stones. And that's the big thing where Ultron gets the stones. He's wiped out everybody. And I do love they just show that he is just like an extinction machine. Like he is going to every place we know in the MCU. Xandar, he's going to the what is it, the Sovereign, stuff like that. Like he's going everywhere, from Guardians.
Droid Ego.
Yeah, he destroyed Ego. That's pretty impressive. So everywhere we've kind of seen, as far as a big location, he's gone, destroyed them. And then there's just this moment where he's standing around and he's talking about like peace in our time, and everything's wiped. You know, like people are gone, planets are gone, or they're just like completely ransacked. And then he, in the distance, like hears or feels the Watcher, and he turns around and he can actually see the Watcher. And it was a good setup too, because I love that the Watcher said like, oh, this story is a real sad one. You know, like he just like emphasized like this is a bad one. So I think that was smart, because it almost made it sound like there was an end that wasn't the Watcher. We've been talking about this probably since the Doctor Strange episode. Like the Watcher in the comics always does interfere at some point, even though he says he can't. But still, like, since Doctor Strange and they acknowledged him, it was like, okay, he is going to have more role. There was part of me when this show started that thought he might not have a role to later seasons, but right when the Doctor Strange thing happened, when we knew, okay, he's going to get involved in some point, what's it going to be? I did not think it would get to this extent where he was going to have a completely multiverse fight / war with Ultron. And it's very interesting. I did not peg, like, now we're going to get some big, I think at the next week episode, crossover between multiverse characters and what if characters together. I did not think Ultron was going to be the cause of that, but I think it was like you said, the episode was one thing, and then the second the Watcher stuff happened, that was a kind of very fun, bold twist, and they had some really great fights going on, like just literally hitting each other into different multiverses and stuff.
With every punch, that was so cool.
That has to be a trippy feeling. I'm sure they can't feel too good after that fight.
Fracture Wolf says, when they do stuff like the mass extinction on this scale, it begs the question if people like Galactus exist somewhere in the galaxy here. Like there is no one to stand toe-to-toe with him worth noting. Now, does that mean like someone to actually compete against Ultron? Because I'm thinking, like, are you wanting the TVA to pop in and try and like take him down a notch? Because
well, the TVA I throw out the window because we don't even know what they are. And Fracture Wolf is apparently to his burner count of saying, AK, not gonna lie, I didn't hate that Captain Marvel getting wrecked, you know. I wouldn't say getting wrecked. She put up the best fight out of all the Avengers. Like she
didn't do it very smart though. You don't take him to a core of a planet when he's nuking planets. I mean, that's
What's your plan? What are you gonna do against this guy?
I would take him out into space. I'd get him away from the planet, not go to like the peak where he's got all the stones, and you're taking him to like the most nuclear
I think
core
her
part of the
idea was to try
planet.
and like burn those stones out of him. You know, like overheat him.
That's a well,
Like it's
I'll
I
give
don't
her
think
like
it's
I'll give her 5 points for like creativity, but like she's 95 points way off of not succeeding.
well, and I think so. The good thing is here with Fracture Wolf, and this is what we've talked about probably all the episodes, with it being what if, right? So you could be like, where was Galactus? You could say for some reason in this timeline in this episode, Galactus didn't exist for X, Y, and Z, right? That's the best thing with the what if. I think you're gonna run into that problem more with the main timeline as far as the MCU going forward. But I think they did definitely tip their hat to it because at one point he like punched the Watcher down and he was a massive, like
I
massive
was like,
Ultron.
"Oh, it's Galactus."
Yeah. You're like people like the Eternals trailer being like, that's Galactus. Everybody's just thinking it's between Mephisto and Galactus. People are getting confused all the time. But yeah, I think that was for sure a tribute to Galactus. Like he literally was like an eater of worlds there. So I think in the what if, I always give the pass. You go, where was blank or where was so and so or this plot line? You go, well, it is what if. So at any point, something else could happen that deviated. It will be interesting in the future, though, when it is just even Thanos in general, or well, we even have that with Eternals, right? Now, I always make my jokes that Eternals are cowards. They are cowards, but at the same time, when we watch that movie, they're gonna have to me have a good explanation for them missing a lot of big things, right? And you're gonna have that with Galactus as far as okay, like when Thanos was around, you know, what was he doing? And we've talked about the same thing with mutants. Were the mutants always around, or was it just in the MCU Endgame timeline they just popped up at that moment? So I think that's the good thing and bad thing about the potential characters coming that you have, you know, great characters that can extend these franchises for years, but then you also always get to that point of, well, you know, what was going on? Where were these people? But so yeah, what were your thoughts on the Watcher getting in? Because did you think it was gonna get this hot and heavy in this episode? Or do you think it was gonna be finale? What happened when they were just going at it?
I 100% didn't think it was going to get this hot and heavy. As soon as he could start hearing the Watcher, I thought, okay, we're getting like Doctor Strange thing, which makes sense. Like he's getting a little too powerful. And then it's like that moment when the Watcher can't shut it off. Like I feel like it was equivalent to Spider-Man 2 when Harry is like, "Shut it off, Otto, shut it off," and he he can't. So that's the Watcher. He's trying to shut it off, and he just can't. But I just thought that was goosebumps because the Ultron was just at that peak point where Doctor Strange was, and it just went down the rabbit hole. Yeah, it's just it's spooky because you have another character
It's
that's just reaching
spooky.
that peak power level that can contend with Doctor Strange and the Watcher. So
Well, the Watcher got some new duds too at one moment. He got hit down, and then he came up, he's in the gold. He pretty much just looked like a big Infinity Gauntlet, in my opinion. You know, like
does
that
it?
armor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it shows how powerful he was as well. And that it's interesting because you look at Ultron, how powerful he is. That's with all six stones. The Watcher is like that, just always. Like that's just the Watcher, you know, like when he wants to bust it out. So that shows how like big he is. And I am interested going forward. Does this change? Because there is gonna be a season two, and I guess we were talking about that. Like, how does this work? Because I think, I guess where my hangout with this episode of like, I think it's top three quality wise, but I guess I do prefer the one-off stories. Like, I actually like the idea of the Doctor Strange episode. You know, that's my favorite one. Like I said, I absolutely loved it. And he's just stuck in that like glass, whatever, purple bubble. I liked the idea better that he was just stuck there for eternity. But now when we get the crossover, so like, well, he got the bubble and he's joined a gang and he's gonna redeem himself, you know. And that's the only thing. It's kind of like we told at the beginning of the season where they're like, oh well, this is canon of the MCU too. I actually preferred it when it was just going to be it's separately. But at the end of the day, okay, it's fine. So I like where I like the episode, but I don't know how I feel about the one-off nature. So in the future, though, Taylor. So obviously, it seems like next week they're going to pluck characters, and we've kind of seen this in trailers, but they're going to pluck characters from different What If episodes to fight Ultron and his gang of robots and stuff. For a season two, is it just that Ultron was beat and then you get more stories of like other what ifs, or is it like a response to what happened in this, or is season 2, which I really hope is not, I don't think it will be, or would it be like, oh, it's a every episode is like a through storyline, and it's not really about the what ifs, it's just these characters now like fighting a multiverse war or something like that? Like, what do you think of season 2 is after
I
this?
I hope they don't do that route. I like that following true with what the series is called What If. I want to see more what if scenarios because there's so many opportunities that they could
Mm-hmm.
do. To me, I think that's the important thing they should stick with. I think, okay, if they follow this nitty-gritty crew of random miscellaneous MCU heroes just going off post defeating Ultron, it's cool, but I don't think that's in any place for a what if series because to me, what if is as the name says. So I just hope that they don't change that up to that degree. I hope that okay, this season again. I think one of the things that kind of has me a little hesitant, and maybe hesitant's not the right word, kind of caught off guard, is how quickly they went from standalone episodes, like you said, to just now being a whole compiled episode into the finale here. We're pulling from all the episodes. It's not a standalone story per every episode now, and here we go. And I don't mind that, but I wasn't expecting them to actually do it in this season. That to me, that's more like a season 2 thing, and we keep getting more what if episodes. But I mean, here we are, and I'm not complaining. I think it's awesome, but I don't want them to carry on with that into season 2. I want it to be standalone.
Yeah, the only way I'd want it to, because they have a whole animation studio now, the only way I'd want it to carry on if they were to say, okay, we're going to take this show, like whatever, the Multiverse Warriors, and put it over here and then still do what if stuff. Like, that's the only way I'd like it, like something separate, because then I'd be like, okay, I'm down to see all these characters again. It is interesting because we have all these rumors about Captain Carter and Doctor Strange, so I wonder if the back of this season was to be like, well, we really want to set up that, you know, these characters could pop up in the main MCU, so let's do it this way. So I wonder if that's it, because like we've always said, I feel like this show was more pitched to be one-offs, and then all, like I said, 2 weeks before launch, like, oh, it's canon. It's like, okay, that's a strange thing to say, and then you start hearing these Captain Carter rumors. You go, oh, okay, and at the end of the day, I'm not opposed to it. Like, if characters really hit, like, I'm really bummed that Chadwick Boseman isn't around, because man, I would have loved to see like his Star Lord like on screen, right? It's the same thing as Peggy Carter. If she's gonna be Captain Carter in the movie, great. So I am fine with it. It's just, yeah, I don't want the show to completely shift to that. So what do you think after this, though? What does the Watcher do? Like, let's say next week all the good guys win, yada yada yada. Like, how do you get back to that what if scenario? Because you feel like the Watcher would be changed, right? And Fracture Wolf said, is the Watcher usually this powerful in the comics? I didn't think so. I feel like he is, but I feel like the difference is in the comics that he will interfere, but not this way where he's like dropping down with fisticuffs. He'll just do something. Like, this dude's like pretty much a god who's just floating around watching different multiverses. I would think that guy's probably pretty powerful, you know? So this to me tracked as far as the reason we probably don't think he's that powerful in the comics, and maybe I could be wrong, it's just he rarely fights, so you don't get to see it. You know, like I could be a black belt, but if I know, well, what should I be a black belt in, Taylor?
Um, say what you should be a black belt on. Let's go classic karate.
So if I was a black belt in karate, but you never saw me get in a fight once, you might think, oh, Trav's just a regular guy, until there's like a, you know, a roadhouse moment. I just fuck everybody up. And I feel like that's the Watcher, where it's like he's super powerful, but you're rarely gonna see it. But that's my question to you, Taylor. Is after the Watcher got physically involved in that, and we've seen with each episode, he's more like wanting to get in there. He's just like a kid like wanting to join the class or something like that. So like, how do you get back to him just being like chilling? And because the idea of what if is he's telling us the stories, right? So could he just go and sit back and tell these stories again?
Well, I think it would be hard because he's breaking his oath.
Yeah.
Again, his hand is kind of forced to. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, I'm never going to hurt anyone. But if a guy comes into your home, pulls you out of your bed by like your hair, pulls a gun out on you, like, what are you going to do? You're going to have to fight back. Especially if he like pulls like
specific.
yeah,
Are you watching some Halloween show or something? Just, guy breaks in your bedroom with a gun, pulls you by the hair. God.
It's tricky. We know there's other Watchers, and a part of me is kind of curious how those other Watchers would handle this and would call them out. Now, again, we've seen other Watchers in the MCU not on the same plane of existence that
Mm-hmm.
this Watcher is. Those other Watchers were actually just chilling in regular space time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Are all the Watchers this strong, do you know, or is this just his capabilities?
I believe Uatu is like the guy. Like he's like the most
The
powerful of them
guy.
all. But I think they're pretty powerful. But they also have this type of like interpretation to them a lot, where it's like they don't get defined things. It's like a space travel thing. It's like if you define it too much, there's gonna be rules broken, stuff like that. But I think they're all pretty powerful. But usually the main guy Uatu is like this is the guy that they usually use. I don't even know if they've name dropped them in the actual show though. I don't know if they've just called him I'm the
I don't.
Watcher.
They just call him the Watcher. I'm pretty
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
Maybe that someone's gonna ask what your name is. Like, what's your real name?
Mm-hmm.
So what else on this episode?
Or
Yeah,
we can
you
talk
walked to Fresh
about.
Wolf. I'm pretty sure that's the, I'm gonna check it because I always knew his name and then I forgot once at the beginning of the season. Now I'm being made to think again that I've forgotten it. So I will check it to be sure.
What's his name? Not XE Rocks. No, it's the paper company or the printer
Yeah, you
company.
ought to.
What's
Yeah,
the?
that's his name. You ought to. That's the Watcher. I think this is the one. I believe he is the. That is the same character. I swear they've said it. They might have not said it in the show yet, but I bet you that will be a moment coming up soon.
What's this computer program's name again? It's like Zegon or
Zola.
Zola.
Sorry,
That's the
Zola.
one.
Yeah,
Zola.
that I really like that aspect. I guess we haven't talked about Hawkeye and Black Widow. The last two remaining. Who would have thunk? But Clint just gets himself in a situation where all his family's always dying or disappearing. He's the last guy left and stuff like that. But I liked all that. I liked the voice actress who does Black Widow is really good. There's times where she sounds identical to Scarlett Johansson, so I think she does a good job. I was actually quite disappointed they didn't get James Spader back for Ultron. I thought the guy that did it was good, but it's not one of those like her or the guy that did Captain America where it's like you can see a little difference, but sounds so similar. This like it definitely sounds. I'm not saying he did bad, but I think James Spader has such a specific voice, especially because he was a voice like doing voice acting in that. I guess he did have the mocap soup on too, but just like in the MCU, he was just a voice. So it was a little disappointing, but I liked all the adventures on. I liked that again. I think that was a very fun wrinkle to add in, like Zola from Captain America and Winter Soldier. We have that scene Winter Soldier, so to get a reverse of like they find the last one, and the only way to take out another program is to get this program. And I like that they kind of have this like chicken, like playing chicken, like who like you're gonna help us or you're gonna die. And Zola's like, I would never help you. Our interests would never ally. And it's just one of these things where it's like it's getting closer and closer to him like being non-existent. It's like, okay, we can work together. So I really liked that. And it does make me think though, I wonder in the MCU if we ever get MODOK, if they would have turned to him, you know what I'm saying? That would have been
That would
great.
have been interesting.
Yeah.
Fracture Wolf says also, where the fuck are the other Watchers right now? When they come to his aid, I'm just gonna go out and say the Watchers are too busy watching what's going down. They're not gonna intervene.
Or they're not watching anymore and they just think this guy's weird. They're just like, why does the guy always get involved? Like, we're just supposed to take the history. But yeah, I'm not sure where the other ones are, to be honest. It's like Taylor pointed out in Guardians, we saw them as physical beings, like hanging out with Stan Lee, right? So
they're probably still there. Fracture Wolf again. Clint kills himself and kills any chance of them repopulating their world. I'm just gonna say Uatu, he can go down to Earth with Black Widow, and they can create a whole new race of Watchers.
I don't know if that works. I think that's like the Kevin Smith thing where he used to propose like, would Superman's sperm just like kill Lois Lane? Like, would it just shoot through her? Like, because he's the Man of Steel.
Black Widow just blows up.
Well, yeah, and like, and here's the thing though, like I always forget about this with the Watcher, but at the very end with Doctor Strange, when he's just like, "What are you proposing?" or whatever he says, and then they zoom out. Like the Watcher's a fucking huge ass dude. You know what I'm saying? Like he's tall, he bohemians her. So like not to get into like some sort of like
you're doing the Chihuahua
BDC,
and like the Rottweiler kind of
not against some BDC sort of stuff in the porn realm, but it's like I don't know if Natasha can physically like do anything with the Watcher. I don't know if she would survive that. And at the same time, if you're talking about but here's the thing, Fracture Wolf and Taylor, you both forgot. Remember, he's not making a mistake because she can't have kids. Remember, the Red Room took that from her.
Oh, right. Yeah. So repopulating the world is just out of the question.
It's just adequate. So you got the two worst people. You have Clint, who's ready to kill himself at any moment, and Natasha, who can't do that, right? So, and Fractional said, but if she can handle the Hulk, that's not canon. We did not see that happen. I'm sure some people saw it happen on the dark webs, but no, and plus it's like, I maybe this is an after nine conversation, but I feel like that's a very tough position to be put in. I just like that'd be like your like equivalent to your master Emily, like our one of like they die and we're left on the planet with one of their friends, and it's just like if it's up to you, that's a very awkward situation of who pitches that. Like, if everyone's ever watched Last Man on the Earth with Will Forte, they do a good job when there's like four people left and they're just talking about like how they go about like, okay, who's gonna partner with who? How do we do this? Like, how do we? And I feel like Natasha and Clint with their history, that'd be very tough. But again, it took that out because she can't have babies, so no problem there. And yeah, Clint, I like that we kind of got a reverse endgame moment where he's the one that took the dive this time, like very similar. And he has this one arrow, which apparently is just Mephisto made because it just unleashed hell on these. Like it did, I guess it was a bomb, but it looked like it just like he shot it when it exploded. It was just fire everywhere that took these things out. But yeah, I like their dynamic. I like more Hawkeye. RIP didn't get there. He had a cool robot arm in this episode, but I like that they kind of had like a Mad Max feel too with these two left. Like they're different type of armor. They're very like gritty and all dirty and what. They're always on the run. So I really liked their dynamic as usual.
Yeah, Fracture Wolf isn't giving up unless in this universe she could have kids.
The Watcher's gonna make some mad joke to her, and she's like, "In every universe, I can't have kids." Like, oh, but yeah, it's true. But I assume that to me, this is because what we had at the end of Party Thor, he came there. I'm guessing he just fucked Thor up, like because we did like we didn't see Thor in this episode. So I would imagine if we're trying to track this right, Avengers doesn't happen the exact same way because like to me, Party Thor in this it's the same movie except Thor and Loki don't go to Earth, right?
In the Party Thor timeline,
Well,
Avengers doesn't happen because there's no call to arms, right? Like they probably
no,
recruit them,
I
but
guess
they wouldn't recruit Thor.
yeah, well, I guess I'm screwing up too because Ultron goes to. I was thinking that Party Thor and this was the same timeline, but I guess he goes to multiple timelines and starts taking people out. So, okay, fair enough. But in this timeline, it's the exact same as Age of Ultron, right? It's just Vision. He got Vision and then he fucked everything up. So that's where I think in this continuity that she still would have the same experiences, obviously. But yeah, well, Clint wasn't long to this world. Natasha, she was still kicking right at the end of this. She was off somewhere, so I think she will be part of the squad next week. So
she's got the Zola
yeah, the
droid.
green Ultron. I like that he had that. He has no legs though. He's not much help right now. They got to fix that, And I don't know who is left that can help her out here, but yeah. Anything else on this episode? I'll take a look at
my notes. No, I don't think so. Just bringing the Watcher in was a pleasant surprise. I think that's going to be the kicker for most people. Seeing the Watcher make full-on contact and actually fight, that's going to really be a top contender for a lot of people because everyone loved it when Doctor Strange could communicate with him. People freaked out about that, but this time around, it's going to be huge. And again, the cherry on top is Doctor Strange is back and he's going to team up with him. I'm super, super excited to actually see how that's going to go down.
Yeah, I am like at the same point when I was like, I like the idea of Doctor Strange being in the bubble. I do like that. Okay, he is going to feel very much like he has to redeem himself because he ruined one timeline. So, he could try to save at least another one would be nice.
He's just going to go straight to finding another Rachel McAdams when he's free.
Do you have a Christina here? Do you have a Christine? Well, because I just had an idea, and if I remember, come time, they're recording because I think they're recording tomorrow. So if you're listening to Brent and Chris, I will try to remember to send this to you. But I have a Fact or Fiction for you because it's a show that I was on, I started, and I'm going to go back soon. And Chris and Brent do a great job, but we do Fact and Fictions there every week. Fact or Fiction to their field, do you think that the Watcher will appear in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? Because I feel like we both agree he's going to be in the live action movies at some point, but do you think specifically we will see him in that movie?
with how much they have showcased him to deal with the multiverse, or being punched into multiple multiverses, I think yes, I think he goes hand in hand with the multiverse. I think there's no question about it. So
No
yeah,
question about it. He's a
like, there's
hard
no question.
fact.
I think there's it's hard fact that you see a Watcher in
Yeah,
multiverse.
I think so too. Because the good thing with like, I think it's gonna be this watch, right? I do, and I think the good thing is with him being a CGI character that Jeffrey Wright can go and record a couple lines, and they can easily keep that secret. You know, there's some people you can't keep secret, like we've heard all these Charlie Xavier rumors and stuff like that, and everything, and that would be harder because it's like, yeah, clearly somebody might be on set the day if it's Patrick Stewart. And that leaks the same way as Toby and Tom, right? It's like we've not really got confirmation, but it's one of these things that somebody's going to talk. But with Jeffrey Wright, you could easily shoot that in the scene with very small people. You might not even need to shoot that if it's fully CG. And I don't think he would play a big role. I just feel like kind of something similar. And I think it'd be a fun dynamic that he's dealt with a Doctor Strange already before. So now he's dealing with this type of Doctor Strange. I
Mhm.
was going to say, like, I wonder if the bad Doctor Strange or the misguided one would be in #1, but I feel
I
like that'd
hope
be
so. That'd
I
be so
will. Is
cool.
it not too redundant though of the episode of Doctor Strange because he already went up against like a kind of a goodwill Doctor Strange?
True. I feel like it's one thing to go against a equal carbon copy of yourself that was from the same universe, but I think it's very different to go up against a fully fledged one that wasn't split into half from his own universe, who's very powerful. But that's just
Mhm.
me. I also think that maybe people in the mainstream audience wouldn't actually know that they've already squared off, or haven't watched What If. They might just see it
Yeah,
like,
true.
oh, there's just an evil Doctor Strange. That's kind of cool.
But
So
at this point though, do you think he's even gonna be evil anymore if he helps Watcher like save a bunch of multiverses? I think he's gonna have his good guy turn.
oh, yeah. It's hard to say. I think I didn't feel like I could really trust him when the Watcher was there to team up with him. All the only thing I got was like, okay, we got the classic Doctor Strange sarcasm, but this is still a Doctor Strange that lost his heart, not his hands. So I think that's the
Mm,
key component we have
but
to
maybe he can get
remember.
his heart back. You know, maybe he can get it back.
Maybe.
Yeah. Is Doctor Strange going to strike a bargain again? I don't know what he'd have to bargain with the Watcher. They're both in a bad situation, but
Oh, I
maybe.
think he knows that he could probably get Christine back. I think he knows that maybe the Watcher could return his timeline or something.
Yeah, that'd be poor Christine. Yeah, I am interested with the whole bargain thing if when we do see Dormammu again, and I hope we do at some point. Not to mention that Doctor Strange episode, the good version was affected by the loss of his girl too. So to some extent he had less of will to beat himself. Yeah, that's true. I guess you he has something that the other Doctor Stranges don't. He still has Christine in his universe. And they have
Yeah.
and they have said Christine is in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I hope she's used well, but it's going to be very interesting with these shows we've talked about before with Loki and this, where even Wanda, though, like Doctor Strange already is a show. Not that you have to worry, but it's a show you have to do a little bit of homework for. Like you got to at least watch, I'd feel WandaVision if she's going to be like a side character or villain. So now it's like if you get that, if you maybe get Loki, if you get What If, Doctor Strange might be one of the most like required watching things you have to do with other stuff. So, which I also
Mhm.
think they avoid a lot. So that's why I'm committing that I think you'll see the Watcher. I don't think you'll see Evil Doctor Strange, stuff like that. But who knows? So yeah, anything else before we send off to the finale next week?
That's all I got.
Yeah, well, hopefully Kirklin should be back. We gave him the night off because yeah, he just did almost a 3.5 hour podcast. We're like, yeah, you go
He's
rest.
gonna
And
be mad. He's gonna watch this episode and he's gonna love it. I can see it.
what if he hates it? You know,
Then he can't be on the finale. No.
has he said what his favorite episode is yet? I feel like he hasn't really been public about
He
it.
kind of beats around the bush.
Yeah, well, 2 weeks after, like I said, we'll do the finale next week, and then probably the next week after on the Wednesday, we'll do it at a regular nice time, and then we'll do a rankings episode of the 9 episodes, and we'll put him on the spot. He's gonna have to,
Yeah.
he's gonna have to confirm it. He's gonna have to commit. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, as always, for tuning in. This we'll be back next week with the finale, and we promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye bye.